So again, generally, any money that most people accept is going to be in their local currency. They're not going to accept a currency that's not local, that they couldn't spend where they live or work. All right, so now we're going to move into, or any questions on money before we move into inflation? Okay, so now we're going to move into inflation. So inflation really is, I'll give you the formal definition and I'll give you my interpretation. And so inflation is a general sustained upward movement of prices for goods and services in an economy. A general movement means some prices are rising, maybe food, cars, tickets, baseball games, tickets, while others, let's say for flat screen television, Bluetooth, cell phones, are falling. If most prices are increasing, or the increase in some prices is greater than the decrease in other prices, then on average, the prices are increasing. And so really inflation is, in my own terms, a rise in the prices of goods and services in pretty much in our economy. And so, for example, and it's rising at a rate faster than we can produce, let's say, goods and services. Another way to, I would say, explain inflation would be also too much money in a local economy will actually create inflation. The more money there is in the economy, the more spending power individuals have. And so if everyone has a lot of money to spend, and everyone goes to the supermarket, and the prices are the same for everyone, then most likely everyone's going to buy what's available. And then that's probably going to cause a shortage in the supply of goods and services. And so the supermarket is going to say, well, hey, our shelves are empty and we can't meet the demand. And so as a result of that, what we're going to do is we're going to start to raise the price. And when we raise the price, our whole goal is to slow down the demand for the product so that we can have enough time to make it. And then also, there's other things that go into that also. If you're trying to produce a product with a higher volume, there's going to be other costs associated, et cetera. But generally, it's a flat movement in the price of goods, but not a specific good. It's generally a category of good. Does that make sense? Any questions as it relates to inflation?
No one likes inflation. Because I'm sure teens, y'all are on your, I'm sure you have heard your parents maybe comment on, not wanting to go to the gas station because gas is so high and food prices are so high. So what Michael is sharing with you is really important. And like you mentioned, it really reflects what's happening today. So you can think about your favorite things that, you like to buy, and how you notice, hopefully you're starting to notice pricing and not just picking up stuff and putting it in the basket, but things are higher than what it used to be.
Absolutely. And they're moving at a pace that is outside the target pace for our economy, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And so, again, it really puts a pressure on a lot of families that have, it really reduces your spending power. And so, for example, if I have $100 and prices, let's say, the price of water is $5 now, but as a result of inflation, meaning there is an increased demand, And in order to curb that demand, the prices are going up for this product. So now let's say the price goes up to $8. My spending power now is less. So, because again, the price of that product has increased and I only have $100. So if I only have $100, it's all I have to work with. And so when it was $5, it may have been affordable. But now that the price has gone up to $8, it may be out of my price range now. Because again, I can't afford that increase. And if my wages haven't increased as a result of this price increase, then again, it's going to put a strain on my buying power. So generally, I'm not sure if you guys have observed, if you go to the supermarket with your parents, usually you're probably getting less for the same amount that you were spending before. And that is the result of inflation. So we kind of already started this, inflation's relationship to money. Okay, so high rates of inflation make money less useful in many ways. If people expect high rates of inflation and the rate of their transactions increase as a result, inflation will increase even further. We call this consumer confidence. And so really, we're always looking at the Federal Reserve who sets the rate. We're always looking at their target rate. So the Fed has set a target rate of 2% year over year for prices for goods and services to rise. And so that has a direct impact on the supply of money in our economy. So if high inflation is bad, is an inflation rate of 0% better than a 2%? We're going to talk about this. Not necessarily. Having a 0% rate of inflation really will cause deflation. And so that would be a price, the price of goods and services to fall. When prices of goods and services fall, what that does is that puts a strain on the labor market. Because if I, let's say, am a producer of computers, if I sell computers at $1,000 per computer, that then allows me to employ, let's say, 5 people. So I can sell those computers and I can sell it at $1,000 and I can make sure that I make payroll for 5 people. However, if the price, let's say, drops to $700 a computer is what I can sell it for, do you think I'll still be able to employ the same number of people?
No.
In general, I'm sorry? Someone started to speak?
No, you wouldn't.
That's correct. You wouldn't, because the amount of money that I have coming in now is less. And so I would not be able to employ as many people as I did when I had $1,000 coming in versus $700. So in order to tame inflation so that it doesn't have a severe impact on our money, the Federal Reserve has determined that a 2% rate of inflation is most consistent with its dual mandate, which is goals that were created by Congress in 1913, which is maximum employment and price stability. And so when we're talking about inflation, the Federal Reserve Bank is our central bank for the United States, and they work to control maximum employment and price stability. That's their whole goal. And they do that through different tools that they have. One being setting the interest rates. And so if they lower interest rates, As a result of the Federal Reserve Bank lowering interest rates, it pumps more money into our economy. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, it reduces the amount of money that's available for circulation in our economy. Less money means less spending. Less spending means usually prices start to fall. And so you may have seen on the news, oh, the Federal Reserve is raising the interest rate by 0.75%, which is pretty bold because generally when they raise the rate, it's only by 0.25%. But in this case, they're really trying to get inflation under control so that when you go to the supermarket, you're not spending $15 for 1 gallon of milk. Because if inflation, meaning the prices continue to rise as a result of demand and there being limited supply, it's, again, going to put a strain on your local supermarkets to be able to carry milk. And so what they'll do is, again, increase the price. The Fed's 2% rate of inflation, and so this is year over year. And so if I buy a gallon of milk today for $2, on the same day next year, we would expect the price of that milk to either have gone up by no more than 2%. By doing so, it keeps the prices pretty steady and stable. And then it also ties into employment. And so generally, if you are working, you get an annual review or you get a raise. And on average, I would say the raises range between 2 to 4% for most organizations. And a lot of that is to keep up with inflation, to make sure you're earning a wage that allows you to continue to live at the pace that you're living now, or the lifestyle that you're living now. Does that make sense? Okay, maybe a little bit. We're gonna do some exercises to hopefully help make this, I guess, make a little bit more sense. I know initially it's a lot to take in, but just remember, if anyone's talking about inflation, it's generally because, again, prices have risen beyond this 2% target. So right now, inflation, our core, I believe the last time I checked, was at hovering around, I believe, 7%, which is far above the 2% rate that's been set by the Fed. And so their main goal right now is to get that rate down to 2%. When I say 2%, meaning that when you buy something, whether it be a car or a computer or a video game, that it is not more than 2% of the cost that it was the prior year. And if it is, then you would calculate and see for that category how much it's risen by. So on average, that's how we're getting to the 7%. So if I bought a candy bar for $1 today, then a year ago, that candy bar should not have been more, there should not have been more than let me switch that around, make it easier. If a year ago a candy bar cost $1, today it should not cost more than $1.02. Because again, the prices of goods and services should not rise above 2% on an annual basis. And that's to keep prices steady. So what's another one? If you were, let's say, probably in the cafeteria at school and you wanted to buy a snack, if the price of that snack, let's say a bag of M&Ms, is, let's say, $2, when you go to school the following year, you would expect the price to be around the same. If the price went from $2 up to $7 when you came back for the next semester, would you still be able to afford to buy those M&Ms? And in most cases, not, because your thought process is, oh, the price is $2. And so when I go to school next year, I'm expecting to pay that $2 price for that bag of M&Ms. But if the price is now $7, now you won't be able to afford that bag of M&Ms. The same thing happens in our economy as a whole. Same thing happens at the supermarket, same thing happens at Target, etc. When you go in to buy something, you have a general idea of what the price should cost. Again, we mentioned earlier a little bit about deflation, so I won't keep harping on that. So any questions so far?
Well, I see where you stated that if inflation gets, you said it think it's less than 2%,
Yes.
then that would be cause for deflation.
Yes.
Are we anywhere close to that?
No. So right now, our whole problem is trying to bring down inflation. Right now, the price of goods and services are too high, and it's putting a strain on individuals. And the reason why is, one of the biggest reasons is there's just, again, a lot of money in the economy. And so for us, if you were to go and, let's say, like I want to do a home remodel, I have to buy, let's say, for kitchen appliances, and I have to buy wood for new cabinets and other things. And so if the price for those products are substantially more costly than they were a year ago, the probability of me being able to do that renovation is going to be low. It's even more so of a problem for people that are on a fixed income, because again, it reduces your buying power. Whereas if we're in like deflation, meaning the prices are dropping, the problem there would be that if prices are dropping, there's a probability that we're going to go, we could end up losing jobs, because again, the people that manufacture goods and services won't be able to charge the same thing because the prices are lower. And so again, that then forces them to have to lay people off. And if they have no money, then they won't be able to go and spend like they do now. So it's kind of like a balancing effect. That's why they try and keep it around that 2% target rate. But right now, again, the prices for goods and services are pretty expensive. And so it's really putting a strain on a lot of families. Any other questions? Okay. We're going to move on and do a quick exercise. And so what I want you guys to do, we're going to have 2 rounds. The first round, we're going to guess about the price of products in a particular year. And then the second, you'll guess the price of the product. I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a price of a product. You're going to guess the year. The second one, I would give you the year. You're going to guess the price of the product. So what I want you guys to do is to record in the chat feature your responses to the question.
Okay, let's everyone participate. So you can get your gift card via email. I have to see everyone's participation.
Let me make sure my chat box is big enough so I can see also. can you guys, let's see, I'm gonna turn on.
Oh, Tyrese is ready. He's like, gift card. He said, can you restate that question?
There we go. Maybe a little bit more light. All right. So in round one, I'm going to give you guys a timeline that's going to represent 1940 up until today's date. I'm going to show you an item and a price for that item. And I want you guys to think maybe for about 5 seconds of what the cost of that item would be. And then I want you to put what year that item would that cost. And then I want you to put that year in the chat. So again, you're going to indicate the year that the item costs that amount, and then you'll put that in the chat. So you've probably heard maybe your grandparents say, oh, when I was a kid, a candy bar was only 15 cents. So same concept. We'll be going over items and you'll be guessing the year in which the item was that price. So person. So when did a McDonald's hamburger cost 15 cents?
Tyrese is quick on it. Oh, no, Sage is there too. All right. Marianne, you will not be getting a gift card. Thank you for your participation.
It's funny to me because I just saw the answer to this yesterday when I was looking. I was looking at something about McDonald's, and they were doing a background of McDonald's and how much stuff used to cost. So that's funny.
Oh, pretty cool. All right, has everyone had a chance to go through and answer?
All right, I think so.
Okay. 2000.
Oh my goodness.
You guys were on target initially. Sage, Tyrese. 1950.
Okay, we have a few comedians online, so just to note that, Michael.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move to the next one. When did a movie ticket cost $4.35? Interesting to see the answers. So I'll say right now, I don't see the answer, but I will say Marianne and Tyrese are pretty close. So that would have been 1992. The price of a movie ticket cost $4.35, the average cost. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one, when did a bag of large potato chips cost $2.50? And again, this is the average price. So for context, in 2021, the average price, according to the Consumer Price Index, was $5.27. All right, I do see one answer in the chat that is correct. That would have been 1990. A bag of potato chips, a 16-ounce or a large bag of potato chips would have been, again, $2.50. And so now the cost is more than double. And so again, we kind of see what happens to prices over time. So again, the Fed has set a rate, or target rate, of 2%. So they know prices will go up, but prices just should not rise at a rate of more than 2% per year. If so, that means prices stay pretty stable and things remain affordable for most households. All right, here's one. When did the average pair of shoes cost $30? So for now, the average cost of footwear is $141. Ginger, Marianne, Sage, Scotty. Okay, that would have been in 1977. So in 1977, the cost of a pair of shoes was $30. So the cost has gone up quite a bit. All right, our next one is, when did a pack of chocolate chip cookies cost $2? And just for context, as of now, it's $3.81 in 2021. So right now we're around we're in the 2000s. I would say not 2000s. We're going to go back further than that. Okay, 98, 95, 97. It is 1992. So in 1992, which was probably before a lot of you guys were born, you could pay $2 and get a pack of cookies. All right, how about this one? When did the average new car cost $3,450? So right now, if you want to purchase a new car, it's going to cost you $45,031.
You're taking them back, Michael. Way back. Before Christ.
Some are close. So the ones that said 1950, it's actually 1947 when the average cost of a new car was $3,450. Yep. So I have a question for you guys. Do you think the cost should stay the same? So do you think that you should still pay $3,450 for a new car?
With the way they depreciate, yeah.
So if the cost of that new car stayed $3,450, what's another available now than back then? So if 1960 with the quality, it's just the same. Okay, so a lot of good responses. And so let's say you're working for a car manufacturer in 1947 and the cost of a car is $3,450. And your boss or the owner of the company says, I don't want to change the price because I want it to be affordable to everyone. And so we're going to continue to charge $3,450 to produce these cars. What do you think will happen?
Somebody's going out of business and a lot of people will be without a job.
Exactly. So if the cost did not rise, that would mean that the employees would not get any pay increases. And then eventually the cost for the products, for their products, things that go into making the vehicle is going to become way too costly. And so they eventually are going to eat up their profit margin, meaning the price that they sell the car versus the price it costs to actually make the car. And so in the long term, if they kept the price static or the same, they most likely would end up going, well, in this case, they would go out of business. And if they went out of business, then there would be no cars after those that were produced in the year that they went out of business. And so prices will always continue to rise. The goal is to make sure the prices doesn't rise at a rate generally above 2%. And it's not always specifically one particular product. Generally, it's categorized. So it would be like, for example, new cars or used cars or milk. Milk can be made by many different manufacturers. It could be many types of milk, et cetera, but it's the same category. And so when we're looking at that 2%, that's what we're talking about, the average for all of those roll into one. I forgot one, which is the average rent cost was $592. Right now, the monthly rent cost is $1,164. So what year do you think it was $592? So I do see one correct answer, and that is from Lorena, 1983. And again, when I say 592, so this is going to be national for all of our 50 states, but on average, that was the cost in in 1983. All right, really good, guys. We're going to do one more round, and then we'll open it up for questions. And so this time you're going to make a prediction. You're going to look into the future and try and determine what the cost of an item will be in the future. And so I have an axis of $1 to $100. I'm going to show you an item. I'm going to give you the current price of that item, and I'm going to give you the number of years and want you to guess the price of that item at that year point. We're going to assume that inflation averages 2%. So if everything goes according to, remember that 2% is what the Federal Reserve wants the price of goods and services to rise each year by no more than 2%. If so, then that means we should have a stable economy. So here we have a water bottle. How much do you think this product will cost in 15 years? The current cost is $12. If you buy it today, $12. What do you think it's going to cost you in 15 years? I see some too much money, probably so. But again, it's going to be relative to how much you're making at that point in time. So Tyree says $25. Anyone else? Okay, 15, 36, 30. All right, I'm going to say the closest is going to be Dallas. The price is going to be $16.15, assuming a 2% increase year over year. All right, next we have a pack of t-shirts, so 3-pack. Today it costs $14. I'm just wondering, what is this pack of t-shirts going to cost in 30 years? At that point, I will be 72. I'll be retired. And so will I be able to afford this pack of t-shirts? Okay, $20, 36. Right. And so if inflation continues to remain steady at 2%, in 30 years, you got the close. It would be $25.36 is what the cost would be. Yep, Sage, you're pretty much on it, $25.36. All right, coffee. So if a cup of coffee costs $2.70 today, how much do you think it's going to cost you in 20 years? And we're just talking just a basic cup of coffee. That'd be $5.50, $5.60. Okay, you guys are getting the hang of it. You're getting closer and closer to the right number. So it's actually $4.01. All right, the next one's going to be a pair of sneakers. And so if the cost today is $60, in 10 years, what do you think this pair of sneakers would cost if inflation continues to remain steady at 2% year over year? Meaning every year, it'll be a 2% increase in the price. So that would mean in 2020 or 2022, we expected it would be 2%, and then in 2023, it would rise another 2%. In 2024, it would rise another 2%. So I see $85, 90. Dallas, you're pretty close. It's $73.14. Sage and Dallas, yep, you guys are the closest to that number, $73.14. So when you guys are, well, if the next would be a backpack. How much would a $40 backpack cost in 25 years? Again, if inflation is at 2%. Okay, you guys are pretty close. Sage, Tyree, you guys are slightly off. Absolutely. It is $65.62. Pretty good, guys. Got a few more, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. How much would a large pizza cost in 30 years? So the average price right now is $9.99. If it were to rise at 2% every year, when you guys are probably my age, how much do you think it would cost to purchase a pizza? Okay, not bad. $18.10. And I believe this was my last. No, I got one more. And
Hey,
so,
Michael, on the last one, will you go ahead and share that formula in the chat so they can see exactly how you calculate and everything?
sure.
All right, thank
Or
you.
actually, to make it easier, I will give you guys a website we can go to that will show you what the cost would be if the inflation stayed the same. Just an inflation calculator. Let's see. And so it's going to be, let's say this pack of pens is $14.79. In 20 years, how much would this pack of pens cost? And so again, what's going to happen is it's $14.79, and it's going to rise 2% year over year. And so in 20 years, what will we expect that to be? Lorena, Dallas, you guys are pretty spot on. $21.98, and that's with a 2% year over year increase. Yep, Sage, pretty close. Yep. All right, so on our last one, which is going to be a pair of jeans, the cost is $39.95. And so if the cost is going to increase at a rate of 2% year over year, what do you think the cost will be in 20 years? And so let's say you wanted to go through and do a calculation to figure out how, what the amount would be in 20 years. Really what you're doing is you're increasing the amount by 2% every year. And so we have, let me pull out my own. So rounding may be a little bit off, but it's going to be taking your 2% over a 20-year time frame to get your increase. So generally what I would do is take my $39.95 and multiply it by 0.02, and that gives me the cost for year one. I were to multiply that time again, that amount, and so let's say, for example, we're going to break it down. I'll get back to my chat. You guys can help me. Let's see. So in its most basic form, $39.95 times 0.02 gives us uh, 0.79. So $0, and we'll just round that to 80 cents. And so if I take 39.95, the next one's going to be and so if you do the 40.75 times 0.02, what do you guys come up with? It'd be 0. I'll put it in the chat. Perfect. And I put a point in front of that. But do you guys notice anything? So in the chat, I think the chat time is at 7:37. So the price and for year one was $40.75. If I factor in a 2% increase. In year two, if you look at my message to you guys at 7:38. So in year two, the price had already gone up to $40.75. If you were to increase that price by 0.02%, you're now going to have a price of $41.56. Do you see the stability in the price? And so the price didn't jump by a large amount. It didn't jump by $5. It remained pretty steady for that item. And that is the goal of the Federal Reserve and its mandate of price stability. If you are interested in learning more about this, I will share with you guys. Let me see if I can get out of full screen. Pull up the website for you guys, and then
Okay. While Michael's looking for that website, y'all can go ahead and get your questions together if you have any, and start posting them in the chat, and then he'll address them for you.
okay. Okay, are you guys able to see the screen I'm sharing now, which should show the consumer price index? Or is it still showing the presentation?
We see the consumer price index.
Okay, perfect. And so this is where a lot of information is held for the price of goods and services over time. And again, the CPI is just a measure of the average change in goods and services over time. There is a survey that's done in urban populations as it relates to the price of goods and services. And so they do these ongoing surveys to figure out what the prices are. They take this data, they compile it, and then they go through and determine what the rate of inflation is for each item, and then they sum them together to get the overall inflation rate. So if you've not been to this website, it gives you some really good videos that kind of explains it, some fact sheets. When it comes to looking at the data, there's some charts, databases. So that gives you a little bit more data related to CPI. Here. I was talking earlier about the average price for goods and services. So you can go to any of these viewers. They're all free and available, and it allows you then to go through and find more data. And so if you're wondering about the price of food in a certain area, and again, these are the areas that are included in the CPI. So we're in the Houston Woodland Sugarland MSA. What's the average price for, actually, I'm sorry, you guys are in the Dallas-Fort Worth MSA. I'm in Houston. What is the average price for gasoline? And it gives you the price based on year. And so if I say that must have been a measure that was outdated. They have multiple, so you just have to make sure you select the right. There we are, back to, sorry, apologize. back here. We'll say gas. There we go. And so it'll break it down also by month. And so in 2022, the average price of a gallon of gas, and it's going to be all types if you were to average them. The price looks like it was highest in June. And then the price started to fall. So now the average price is about $3.51 a gallon. That's one tool. And then the other is just this website here. So I'll include in the chat. Add both of those, which allows you to calculate inflation. They're forward, backward, backwards, or allows you to also to like back into it. So they're all really good calculators, especially if you're looking to see what the cost of an item may be over a certain amount of time. This is good for businesses and trying to determine what their prices should be, and helping them forecast to see, again, what should I charge a consumer for this good in a year, 2 years, 3 years, et cetera, which then helps them forecast their financials. All right, so now I'll turn it back over to you guys for any questions.
There are a couple questions in chat for you.
All right.
Dallas, he asked, what was the question there? Oh, what's the definition of inflation? Is there a simple definition you can share with them?
And so generally, it's going to be a rise in the prices of goods and services year over year. And so it's whatever that measure is. And so again, you're measuring the rise in prices of any good or service from one year to the next year. Inflation is usually caused by, again, there being too much money in the economy.
And kind of referenced earlier, is inflation bad?
Yes. And well, it depends. Inherently, no. It depends on what rate inflation is at. And so if prices are rising above that 2% target, then yes, it can be bad. If prices are within that 2% rate of increase year over year, then no, that is the Fed's target, and in that scenario, their prices tend to stay stable. Kind of like we were doing a calculation earlier with calculating the price of the jeans and what they would be in 20 years. And we started with year one, and the price was $40.75. And then we added another 2% in year two. It went up to $41.56. And so from 1 year to the next, the probability of you being able to afford that pair of jeans is pretty much the same. There's not much of an increase. However, if inflation were to rise at a higher rate than the 0.2%, and let's say it was to rise at 8%, depending on what you're purchasing, that may price you out of that product or service, especially when it's not just one item, but multiple items that you're purchasing. So like when you go to the supermarket, not just one item is increasing, multiple items are increasing. So if I were to a really good way to go through and test this would be to take your grocery bill now. So go with your parents to the grocery store. Whenever they come home, take the grocery bill and then go line item by line item and increase the price of each item by 2% first. And then in another column, increase the price by 8%. Then you would add those up to see what the cost would be. Now you could go through and just increase the dollar amount below by 2% or by 8%. But to really give you a visual of each item and what it's costing you, it's good to go through and calculate each one item by item. So for some families, what that means is, like once you've done that calculation to see what that price of that item is at a 2% increase versus a 8% increase, you may find that you may not be able to afford all the items on the list. And so then you would have to look at the list to see which items on that list would you remove.
Okay. And then our last question is from Dallas. He's a entrepreneur, so he asked about his the formula to help raise his cookie prices. He said they're $2 right now. He's been in business for 2 years. When should he raise his cookie prices?
It's going to be, that's a good question. I would say a lot of it's going to tie into what is it costing you to purchase your supplies in order to make those cookies. And so we call it gross margin. You want to make sure that whatever price you're paying for the flour, the icing, the chocolate chips, etc., whatever you're charging, you're at least breaking even, meaning that it's not costing you more to purchase supplies than the selling cost. Then the second thing you want to do is to look to see, once you've come up with a good price for your cookies, let's say, for example, if you're selling at $2 right now, you know, well, inflation is at a rate of around 7%. So that means that compared to last year, your prices have increased by 7%. So in order for you to still at least make a profit, you're going to need to increase the cost of your cookies by at least 7% to cover your costs. Otherwise, the cost that you're paying will exceed the cost that you're charging your customers. And so again, you wouldn't be making any money. So if I were to go, let's say, for example, in that calculator, I would take my, and I wouldn't do it based on the price of your, like however you came up with that $2 charge for your cookies. That's what I would use it to base it on. So for example, if it cost me $1, let's say it cost me $1 to make this cookie and I sell it for $2. When I'm going in and calculating my price increase, it's most likely going to be based on my cost. So I'm going to take my cost and factor in that increase for that 7%.
All right. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate you. You always come with the good info. Y'all give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
You are. And before we close out, we're going to have Mary Ann share some updates with us on some upcoming workshops.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Yep.
Go
ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. So we've got some more exciting workshops coming up. Michael, thank you so much for doing such an excellent job. And thank you so much to the teams that attended tonight. You are on your way to financial freedom and building wealth here after a couple of more workshops. But what we have coming up on October the 13th, which is another Thursday evening at 6:30, we'll be having Maria Melendez, who is a representative of State Farm Insurance. This workshop will be excellent for both pre and post purchase, those that are looking to get into home ownership and those that are already homeowners. Will definitely get a lot out of this. It will include auto, life, and auto, life, and home being the most important. And then again, on November the 10th, on another Thursday, we are going to have Miss Kiana back, and she will be doing another excellent financial literacy class on jumpstarting your kids. And once again, we will be encouraging the parents to bring the teams on with you this go around. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Ms. Wise, and everyone that came, and hope you learned a lot. I know I did. Thanks, Ms. Annie.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time. And y'all have a good evening. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. Thanks. Thank you guys for
Night,
being
everyone.
attentive.